Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today I am bringing you another episode of Finishing the Series. In this episode, I will be talking about Crush, which is the second book in the Karen Vail mystery series by Alan Jacobson, and Dangerous Minds, which is the second book in the Night and Moon mystery series by Janet Evanovich. As a reminder, all of the videos in my Finishing the Series collection may contain spoilers because I am talking about books that come after the first book in the series. So whether it be in pertains to the summary that I give or some events that I may discuss that happened in previous installments, just know that ahead of time. As always, I will have links to each book down in the description box below for ease of navigation. If you are interested in what I had to think about both of these books without any potential spoilers, you can check out my written reviews on Goodreads or my blog. Both are linked down in the description box below. So this video is going to be a little bit different from my other videos in this collection. There was some time that passed in between the time that I finished Crush and the time that I finished Dangerous Minds. And so I actually recorded my thoughts on Crush shortly after I'd finished that book. And so I will flip to that now, and I will catch you back when the clip is done. So let's talk about Crush. This is the second book in the Karen Vail mystery series by Alan Jacobson. I read the first book, The Seventh Victim, in March of 2019 for March Mystery Madness, and I really enjoyed it. This series follows an FBI profiler named Karen Vail, who's part of the Behavioral Analysis Unit. And if that sounds familiar to you, that is the same group that is featured in the TV show Criminal Minds. That's a large part of why I decided to pick up The Seventh Victim in the first place. And I really enjoyed that first installment. If you'd like to hear my thoughts on that one, you can check out my March Mystery Madness wrap-up for 2019. I'll link it down in the description box below. But this one follows Karen after that particular case. She has had to have some surgery on her knee and is now on vacation with her boyfriend, and they have decided to go to Napa. So their whole plan is to just relax, and so that she can take care of her knee as well, and then obviously spend time with one another and visit various wineries. So while on one of these winery tours, they're suddenly getting pushed out. One of the guys at the winery comes up from one of the corridors and says that everybody has to leave, and because of the nature of her job, and her boyfriend is also a police detective, but because of the nature of her job, she gets curious and states that she's an FBI profiler, and they find out that the reason that they're vacating the winery tour is because down in the caves they have found a dead body. This is a grittier mystery. I do read a lot of cozy mysteries, but I also enjoy the grittier ones as well, and this is one of those. So for those of you who watch me for cozy mysteries, this is not one of those, and I will explain in a bit. But the body that they have found has been mutilated. The breasts have been sliced off, and the toenail of the big toe on the right foot, I believe, has been extracted. It is a woman, and Karen stays around while they're waiting for the police to come, and she just can't let this go. She is on vacation, she's supposed to be spending time with her boyfriend, but she ends up getting herself invited into the investigation. Because she's FBI, she can, but because her boyfriend is a police detective only and they are out of state, he is unable to. So she essentially leaves him to fend for himself while she becomes a part of this task force. Needless to say, as the story goes on, they figure out that it is a serial killer. They do find other victims, and so that's kind of where the story goes. Now, like I said, I really enjoyed the seventh victim. I don't remember having any issues with it at all. But in this one, I kind of feel like it's clear that this female character was written by a man. Some of the thoughts that she had aren't thoughts that I would think a woman would have, um, especially in regards to the state of undress in regards to another woman. In the scene where she makes that mental note, she doesn't say it out loud, but they're like on their way to catch a killer. Like, the particular character that is in a state of undress was attacked, and therefore that's why she's kind of dressed the way she is. I don't think it's a spoiler to tell you that she was dressed in the bare minimum, so just basically threw on a shirt and shorts because of where she was attacked, which was the locker room of a fitness center. It makes sense as to why she's only wearing what she's wearing, especially because they are in pursuit of a suspect. But just the way that Karen had mentally commented about that just didn't seem appropriate for the time. And I don't know, to me it felt more like something a man would notice as opposed to something a woman would notice, especially with everything that was going on. Also, Karen is a single parent, and she left her son, who's a teenager, back in her home state to go on this vacation with her boyfriend, which is fine, but it was kind of weird that she didn't really think about him too much during the story. And I guess this is my personal opinions coming out because I'm also a single mother, and I wouldn't have considered going on a vacation away from my child being a single parent, especially not out of state. Now, I understand, different parents have different parenting things, but for me, that was just like, okay. There is a point in the story where you do get mention of her son, but it's only because it's effect of what has happened during the investigation. And so, yeah, I didn't really agree with her parenting styles, but again, that's a personal thing that not everybody is going to think the same way I do on that one, but that kind of bothered me a little bit. The whole part about her, like, leaving her boyfriend to fend for himself, that was kind of not great overall. I mean, she's supposed to be on this vacation, they're supposed to be spending time together, and she's like, nope, I'm going to investigate this murder instead. So, pretty much, her boyfriend is really only there for sex. I mean, really. She, like, says she feels bad about spending time with him, but she still is very much engrossed in this investigation, and that's like her priority. Her priority is not to spend time with her boyfriend. There's a couple times where she has a call from her superior in her department because they ultimately gave her permission to work on this case. but because of how the investigation goes, she actually gets told to step off, like, you're not to investigate this any further, and, you need to come back. To which, she definitely says, well, no, I'm still on vacation, so I don't have to come back. But she tries to negotiate still being on the task force. And I understand that the only way to get her out to Napa was to have her on vacation. But I just thought that the whole thing, why would you set it up so that she's there with her boyfriend to be on vacation and then have her be engrossed in this case was just odd. Now, that being said, at the end of this book, you definitely find out why the boyfriend is there. This book doesn't contain the case in this installment. It does carry over into the next one. Kind of where it leaves off is pretty abrupt, and I have not yet read the next one, so I'm not going to comment on that, but I didn't enjoy this one as much as I did the first one. Karen's character bothered me a lot for the reasons that I stated, and I just feel like she was kind of all over the place. And again, the way the tone of her voice was, things she was commenting about, didn't seem like they were coming from a woman. And I've never really noticed that before when men write women characters. But in this one, I definitely did. There were definitely things that made me question, like, why is she thinking that? Or why was that comment even made? It was kind of strange. But anyway, I will be continuing on to the next one. I did borrow a copy of this from my library, and I listened to it on audiobook. I did listen to the first one on audiobook as well, and I do enjoy the narrator. I think they did a great job. Speaking of which, this book goes back and forth between two points of view, Karen and the killer. So you do see the killer, what the killer's thinking. I'm pretty sure in the first one it was that way as well. That being said, towards the end of this book, when things are like getting really hyped up, they're, chasing after the killer, we get a third point of view. And that was really weird. It was from the other detective that I had mentioned earlier who had gotten attacked. It kind of goes back and forth between the killer and Karen and this other detective. And I think it's so that you kind of get a 3D view of what's going on in that moment. But it was kind of jarring. I don't know if it would completely be confusing if I was reading it instead of listening to it. Because I was listening to it, I got the different voices of each character, and that made it easier to navigate what we were being presented. But the scenes would overlap, so you'd get Karen's point of view as far as what she was doing, and then you'd get the detective. But it was pretty much a replay of what Karen was seeing, but in her point of view. And then you get the killer and what he was seeing in all of the same point of view. And I don't know why it was important to have the third point of view, and especially to go over and repeat what had happened already in another person's point of view immediately following seeing what happened from a previous character's point of view. So yeah, that was kind of weird, especially since we're going back and forth between Karen and the killer pretty much the entire book. and then all of a sudden we get this other detective. So yeah, I'm not sure what the point of that was. Because I was listening to it on audio, it did make it easier for me to decipher what was going on. But I think if I was reading it physically, it would have been a lot more confusing. But yeah, I'm really interested on seeing how this case is going to wrap up. If you do read the Goodreads synopsis, it does say that this book and the next book are connected. So it wasn't a surprise to me that this one was going to leave off on a cliffhanger. But this is one reason why I don't typically read series as they're released, because cliffhangers really get to me. So I will be continuing on to the next one, which is Velocity, sometime soon. And I hope to chat to you about that one then. So let's talk Dangerous Minds. I read this one for March Mystery Madness. Like I said, it is the second book in the Night and Moon mystery series by Janet Evanovich. I read Curious Minds, which was the first book for March Mystery Madness in 2019, and really enjoyed it. And so I was glad to pick this next installment up. I do believe this is the end of this particular duology. I don't see that any other books are planned to come out, and this one came out in 2017. I used this one to satisfy my March Mystery Madness prompt of read a prompt that has a page number divisible by 5. However, I did not read a physical copy or an ebook copy. I actually listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook time is divisible by 5. So that worked out perfectly. In this one, our eccentric billionaire Emerson Knight and his partner Riley Moon are investigating a missing island. They are contacted by one of Emerson's acquaintances, who happens to be a Buddhist monk who had resided on this island. He was evicted from the island by some special forces, and he's not sure why. So when he tried to make his way back, he couldn't find the island anymore. This particular installment deals a lot with the National Park Service, as well as the fact that it takes place in mostly Yellowstone and Hawaii, specifically the Big Island of Hawaii. Of course, the more that they investigate this missing island, the more they find out that there's something more sinister afoot, something bigger. I did really enjoy the first one. Night and Moon really work well together, and the bits of comedy that's thrown in was very entertaining. The second installment was no different. And I think for me, because it was so over the top and just hilarious, it's exactly what I needed at the time. I have been reading a lot of books lately that I've had quite a few issues with, and it was kind of putting me in a slump. Also, I've been reading a few books that have taken me quite a long time to get through, just because they're not grabbing me. And so I was kind of feeling a slump coming on, and it was bad timing because we were just getting into March Mystery Madness, and I really wanted to, get into the books that I was reading, but everything that I was picking up was just either taking a long time to grab my interest, or I had lots of issues with it, or a combination of the two. And so I kind of had a feeling that if I had picked this one up first, it would help rejuvenate my reading energy, I guess. And I was right. This, I think, was just what I needed to get me hyped up about my reading in the month of March. And so, yeah, like I said, It's hilarious. There are things in there that could be over the top. I think a lot of people probably would have issues with the fact that some of the things are quite ridiculous, but it was a super entertaining time for me. I'm not very versed in Janet Evanovich's work. I have read the first Stephanie Plum book many years ago, and I didn't get past that one, though I always meant to revisit it. I did read the Wicked Appetite trilogy. I think it's called the Lizzie and Diesel series. Yes, it is. And I really enjoyed that one as well, but I think that one's not having any other books come out anymore either. And so I'm still not really wanting to go back to the Stephanie Plum series, so I think I'll try the Fox and O'Hare next. But for me, these books were very entertaining, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what else Janet Evanovich has to offer. There is a little bit of romance in this duology. It kind of gets hinted on in the first book that there's an attraction between Emerson and Riley, but nothing really comes of it in the first book. In the second book, there's definitely more steps towards that. Though I have to say, sometimes the way Emerson phrases things is kind of juvenile, I guess. And his delivery of some of those lines are just so off the wall. But that's part of what makes this so funny, and it fits with his character because he is kind of a recluse. I mean, he has his cousin, Vernon, who lives on his property. Vernon is also a part of this story. And he has like acquaintances, I would say, but he doesn't really socialize with a lot of people. So it's pretty much just Vernon and Riley, who are like his like little circle. And so it makes sense that he delivers lines or says things in a weird way. But I just thought that it fit his character. And then Riley's a bit more sociable, I guess, is the word that I'd use. She has more experience talking to others, so she kind of grounds Emerson, I guess, in a way. But they work very well together, and even though Emerson's ideas are a bit off the wall, Riley goes along with it and kind of makes it work. She also is his driver because Emerson doesn't drive, and he has like this collection of cars, and she gets to like choose which car to drive. She does have her eccentricities also. She loves to use a specific phrase whenever she is surprised at something. And I won't say it here, but she does use it quite often in this book. I found that I was kind of like, again? I don't remember her quite using it as much in the first book, but maybe she did. I can't remember, but it just seemed like she said it quite a bit in this one. And it is kind of funny what she says and how she says it, especially because I listened to the entirety of this book on audio, and the delivery from the narration on her specific phrase that she uses was quite funny. And so I did laugh several times whenever it came out in the book. But yeah, I really did enjoy this one. It was super entertaining, like I said, just what I needed to kind of avert me away from the slump that I was heading towards. It's not going to be for everyone because it is over the top, and I know lots of people can't handle stuff like that or dislike to read stuff like that. But if you are looking for some stupid humor, this would be an excellent choice. I do think that you could read Dangerous Minds without reading Curious Minds, because it doesn't really matter how Night and Moon met each other, which is what you get in the first book, to know what's going on in this one. And so, yeah, that's all I've got to say on that one. Let me know if you've read either the Karen Vail series or the Night and Moon series. I'd love to know what you thought. So that's all I've got for you today. I hope you're all doing great, and until next time, take care, and Smile always. Bye.